We all know that one person, right? The one who seems to run their life with the flawless precision of a Fortune 500 company. While the rest of us are, well, just trying to remember where we left our keys. They somehow manage to maintain amazing relationships, completely ace their academics, balance their finances, and navigate their careers with this incredible, almost robotic efficiency. But it turns out, it actually isn't magic. The foundational management secrets used to run the world's absolute most successful organizations are literally the exact same principles you can use to organize your personal schedule and daily habits. So today we're unpacking those secrets in this explainer. We're going to take a deep dive into a framework that applies just as powerfully to your everyday life as it does to a high-stakes corporate boardroom.
All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. First, we'll establish what we call the universal management secret. Then we'll break down the 4 specific functions of the POLC acronym: planning, organizing, leading, and finally, controlling. Starting with Section 1, the universal management secret. This is where we build our foundation. So, at the very center of modern management sits the POLC framework. And the beautiful thing about it is that it's universally applicable. Whether you're launching a massive global startup, trying to get into better shape, or literally just managing your daily household chores, the underlying principles are exactly the same. We often fall into this trap of thinking about management as something that only happens in some glass office building with hundreds of employees and complex spreadsheets. But actually, scratch that. You are the manager of your own life. You have resources, you have specific goals, and ultimately, you have to execute. Let's move right into Section 2, planning. This is all about defining your direction. Now, planning is without a doubt the absolute most important function of management. Why? Because it determines your direction from day one. Without this first step, the other 3 pillars we're going to talk about have absolutely nothing to stand on. As the famous adage goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, I know that might sound like a bit of a cliche, but honestly, you simply cannot skip this step. And here's the really crucial thing to remember. True, effective planning does not start with just guessing. It always begins with deep research and gathering solid information. To build that rock-solid foundation, your planning phase needs to answer a few critical questions, starting simply with, what am I going to do? And how exactly am I going to do it? Answering these accurately takes real time. One of the most common mistakes people make is trying to sit down and create this vague, year-long life plan in just a couple of hours on a Sunday afternoon. You just can't rush this. Effective planning requires careful thinking, constant refinement, and setting highly specific, actionable steps, rather than just throwing vague, general ideas at the wall and hoping something sticks. Then, you really have to dig a little deeper and ask yourself, why am I doing it, and when am I going to do it? Establishing clear timelines. That when piece is what creates a sense of urgency. But the why? That is your anchor. Psychological studies consistently show us that attaching a deep, intrinsic why to a goal increases your success rate exponentially compared to just chasing surface-level metrics. If you're starting a business, making money is the surface reason, right? But your true, deeper why, maybe it's financial freedom for your family, is what gives your actions direction when those inevitable challenges actually arise. So what does this look like in practice? In a corporate setting, this critical research phase means studying the market, analyzing competitors, and understanding customer risks. It's heavily data-driven. But personally, say you're a student trying to improve academically. Your research means auditing your own past habits to find the absolute best study methods for you. Are you a visual learner who needs YouTube lectures, or do you actually thrive on highlighting physical textbooks? You are researching and intentionally choosing the resources that best fit your highly specific goal. When you invest the proper time into this planning phase, it creates this really natural cascade. Your broad goals clarify your overarching vision. That vision then narrows down into your core mission, which is then broken up into specific, measurable objectives. And finally, it distills into the exact day-to-day strategies you're going to use to hit those objectives. It's a beautiful, totally logical flow, from a 30,000-foot idea right down to a concrete, boots-on-the-ground executable strategy. Okay, on to Section 3, organizing. This is where we talk about managing your resources. Organizing basically takes all that great theoretical work we just did in the planning phase and makes it real. It transforms your plan into reality by allocating the right resources at the right time. Now, when people hear the word resources, they almost always immediately think of a financial budget, money, right? But your resources are so much more than just cash. Your most critical assets actually include your time, your specific skill sets, your equipment, and perhaps most importantly of all, your physical and mental energy. Every single one of these has to be deployed effectively for your plan to succeed. Finding the sweet spot in resource allocation is pretty much everything. If you devote insufficient resources, like, say, giving way too little time to a massive, complicated project, you're basically guaranteeing a struggle. But on the flip side of that, dedicating excessive time or energy to low priority, easy tasks creates massive, exhausting inefficiency. You end up completely burning through your life's most valuable assets on things that simply don't move the needle forward. In a business context, good organization means assigning the right people to the right roles so that the entire company operates like a well-oiled machine. Personally, though, it means heavily auditing your own schedule. It means putting your most demanding, high brain power tasks in your most productive morning hours, meticulously tracking your finances, and managing your personal energy so that your individual everyday efforts produce the greatest possible results. Next up, Section 4, Leading. This is all about inspiring action. When we hear the word leadership, we naturally picture someone with a megaphone managing a massive team or rallying a huge room of employees. But leadership fundamentally starts with inspiring action within yourself. We call this self-leadership. It's having the raw discipline to do what needs to be done even when you really don't feel like doing it. Because before you can ever hope to influence or motivate a team of other people, you have to first overcome your own procrastination and stay totally committed to your own goals. Let's use a quick example. Imagine your goal is to read one book every single month for self-improvement. You meticulously planned for it. You organized your schedule perfectly to do it. But it's 9 p.m. and you end up doom scrolling on your phone for 2 hours instead. The issue here isn't a lack of knowledge, and it certainly isn't a bad plan. This is a failure of self-leadership. You're choosing short-term dopamine over long-term discipline. In that moment, you are failing to inspire action in yourself. So, while corporate leadership motivates a large workforce to hit a quarterly target and perform at their absolute best, personal leadership is what allows you to look in the mirror at the end of the day and actually honor the promises you made to yourself. It is the engine that drives your entire plan forward, especially when your motivation inevitably takes a dip. And it will dip, for sure. And that brings us to Section 5, Controlling. Think of this as course correction. I know the word control often sounds a bit like micromanagement or being overly bossy, but within this framework, it simply means monitoring your performance and making the necessary course corrections. After you implement your amazing plans and organize all your resources, you have to step back and honestly ask yourself, am I making the progress I expected to make? What is actually working well right now? Basically, you are giving your goals a much-needed reality check. And just as importantly, maybe even more importantly, you have to bravely ask, what isn't working? Why am I getting these specific results? And what immediate adjustments should I make? When you ask these questions honestly, you identify the gap between your plan and reality. For instance, if you aren't hitting that reading goal we mentioned earlier, controlling helps you realize that trying to read at 11 p.m. simply isn't working for you, and you need to adjust to morning reading. Controlling is essentially the diagnostic tool that spots the problem so you can actually fix it. Without control, you're flying blind, and mistakes continue totally unchecked. But with control, those exact same mistakes become your absolute greatest opportunities for growth. It ensures that when you drift off course, which, let's be real, you absolutely will at some point, you don't stay lost. Control turns your failures into vital, real-time lessons so you can improve and perform significantly better the very next time around. And here is the real secret. Control is not the end of the line. The PLDC framework isn't a straight line at all. It's a continuous, dynamic cycle of evaluation, learning, adjustment, and improvement. Your planning determines where you're going. Your organization ensures your resources are in place. Your leading motivates the actual action. And your controlling measures the progress, which then takes all that vital information and feeds it right back into your planning phase to start the entire loop all over again. It's an engine for constant evolution. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. I want you to look at your own life right now through this new lens. Which of the 4 POLC pillars, planning, organizing, leading, or controlling, is your personal life currently missing the most? Are you doing a ton of planning without actually acting? Acting constantly without organizing your energy? Or maybe repeating the exact same mistakes over and over without ever controlling? Identify your missing pillar today, apply this continuous cycle, and step up to become the true CEO of your own life.